Happy Pride, people! If you love comics, gaming, and art, and you're in the New York area this weekend, you must check out the 5th annual Wink Creative Conference, Pride Fest.
This Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Flushing Town Hall in Queens, you'll experience amazing panels, cosplay, and a marketplace full of talented artists. It's free to attend, but VIP guests can snag exclusive swag.
Brought to you by Women in Comics Collective International and sponsored by Flushing Town Hall, The Power of Priya, and NYC Events.
You are now listening to ForAllNerds Show, a podcast about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. ForAllNerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
ForAllNerds is hosted by Tatiana King and DJ Benhameen.
ForAllNerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/ForAllNerds.
Welcome to the ForAllNerds Show. And what's up, y'all? And welcome to this extraordinary episode of the ForAllNerds Show. The voice of the urban geek, the podcast where we discuss geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. And as always, in the captain's chair, it's your boy DJ Benhameen, aka NBA Youngboy, never blipped again. Benhameen, the living amplifier. Benhameen, DJ by night. Briss Blairmont, Halal Jordan, Kal-El Bundy, Dot Pilgrim, Tandaman Lee, Bid Fetch here in the spaceship tonight. And as always, I'm joined by...
First of all, I really like the human amplifier one. That was really good. I like that.
Thank you very much.
This is Tatiana King, the Grand Duchess of Tech, also known as Miles the Tails Prowler, Limp Bizkits, Glorilla, Grodd, Flex, Luthor, Moesha Anastasia. Had to do that one. Madeline Pryor's Dark Chocolate Phoenix, the Lord of Lightsabers, and the Ting of the North.
There we go. And tonight, as you see, if you are watching us right now on YouTube, that's ForAllNerds TV. Thank you to the 5K followers that came through. That's why we got another show for y'all today. Yay! But if you're watching right now, our melanated faces, we are joined by a third, actually one of the original ForAllNerds fam, Mr. Joe Illidge himself.
Yes, Joseph P. Illidge, AKA Illidge of Infinite Earths, AKA Child of Krakoa, AKA The Midnight Sun, AKA Absolute Powerhouse, AKA Master of Epiphanies.
Period.
Yes.
I like that absolute powerhouse. I like that. Yes, I like that.
Everyone knows. They know.
They know Joe Illidge, longtime friend of the show, as well as an absolute living legend here on the spaceship. I mean, this man's history goes on and on and on, as well as what he's doing in the future. On and on and on. All kind of things popping. Yes. Some things he can talk about, some things he can't. But
that's the life.
I know a few of them.
That's the NDA life.
Yeah,
that's it.
I've heard some rumors. I've heard some stories. Maybe
we can sprinkle some hints here on the mothership. Let's see.
You know what I mean? It's not a what if. It's not an imaginary tale. It's for real. So
that's right.
But one thing that we can talk about is the alliterative Epiphany Engine, which is dropping this summer. The crossover of all crossovers. All right, Joe, first of all, for all of, the fam out there, just let them know just what is the Epiphany Engine.
So the Epiphany Engine is the ultimate Black comics crossover, right? There have been a few times that this has been done, but never of this scale. We're basically talking about the Black indie crossover event of all time. You're talking 45 different publishers, over 60 creators, probably over 65 characters. We have a Kickstarter campaign. So this is going to be for a 192-page graphic novel. And we have some of the best writers and the best artists in comics, period. In Black comics and in comics. We're bringing people like Brandon Thomas is our lead writer. So people who know, Excellence, Hardware Season 1, Batman Black and White. This guy's been bringing it for years and years. We've got guest writers like Rodney Barnes, who's slaying with Philadelphia. We've got Colleen Douglas, really this up-and-coming horror writer. She's amazing. Her latest graphic novel is called Silk Cotton. We have the creators of Tuskegee Heirs, Greg Burnham and Marcus the Visual Williams up in the house. You know what I'm saying? We have artists like Aletha Martinez from Nubia and World of Wakanda. We have Chris Cross going back from Milestone, right?
Say that again.
You know what I'm saying? Chris Cross going back to Blood Syndicate, original OG Blood Syndicate, then came back and dropped the mic 29 years later with Blood Syndicate Season 1. This man has drawn all the top characters in comics. We've got the top indie creators, Lonzo Starr, who does Acolyte. We've got John Jennings. Tony Cottrell is the publisher. He is the publisher of Advent Comics. Advent Comics is celebrating their 15th anniversary. And so they're the publisher. And we're bringing the top artists to this because this kind of scale has never been done before. And it's one single book. It's not going to be this mini series that you have to read over a period of months. It's a 192-page story. Anyone who's looking at my socials or the socials of anyone else involved, it's Epiphany Engine all the time, 24/7. We dropped the Kickstarter campaign on Juneteenth. So that's exactly like 1 week ago. And we're more than a third funded. So we're just going to ramp it up even further and go into the second act. And this has basically been the road that started in 1947 with All Negro Comics #1. If you know your comics history, that's the first comic book Black-owned publisher, Orrin Evans, and brought a total Black team together to create the story. He only got out one issue because 1947, so you're talking about a lot of racism, and all the printers got together and conspired to not allow him to print a second issue. So there was only one issue that came out. So you're talking about the legacy that starts there, goes to companies like Milestone when they dropped in 1993, and leads us to here. So this has been a long time coming. This is a legacy project. And to see the Black independent movement combine forces with some of the top creators in comics, period, it's an amazing thing. And it's something that the fans have really wanted. It's this thing where people talk about it and say, wow, we wish we could have it.
Right.
And now we have it. And what we're showing is what happens when Black people really join forces and decide that they're going to blow your legs off.
All right. I mean, not just the legs, hopefully.
Well, listen.
Every limb.
Well, listen, we want you to be able to still go to the Kickstarter and donate money. So we're going to make sure that you keep your hands. Right? Your hands can stay.
And you got to be able to read it. So you need your eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're being selective about what happens.
Right. Just for people. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Just for people who don't have a semblance of what to expect, what should they expect from this project?
So really, it's one big story, and it centers around a Black family of scientists, engineers, explorers. And what happens is there's a big enemy that scatters the 5 members throughout the multiverse. And it's going to take all these Black superheroes from the last 30 years of publishing to bring the family back together to this final battle that's going to happen at the end. So it's both a fictional story, but it's kind of like a metaphor, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're talking about this story's, you see what I'm saying? This story is going to be so big that it's going to take the 30 years of publishing that have been happening behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to really bring this story to a head. And one of the things that I really love about it is, and we all know this, when you're talking about comics and comics make their way to animation, it's hard to find intact Black families, right? You're talking about Static Shock. Static lost his mom. You're talking about Miles Morales. Now, when you talk about the Spider-Verse cartoons, his mom and his dad are around. When you're talking about the comics and where he came from, Ultimate Universe, it was a different story, right?
Right.
So when you see a lot of these Black characters in comics, you're talking about broken families, but this family is intact. They're intelligent. They're potent. They're on their game. So the kind of person that's going to knock them off their game really has to be next level. Like we're talking Apocalypse, Thanos level. And so that's why it was important to bring a writer like Brandon Thomas into it. Because at the core of this story, there's a father-son conflict. And there is no writer in comics better than talking about the relationship between Black fathers and sons than Brandon Thomas. And if you have any doubt, you just read Excellence and then it's over.
I agree.
Over.
And Excellence is one of my favorites,
because he gets into the layers, right? You're talking about doing the work. And so when he did the script for the first chapter, which then leads to all the character chapters, like he put his foot into it. And that's one of the things about all the creators who are involved in it. No one's giving 65% or 92%. Everyone's giving 110% to this because they know the historic importance of this book.
Besides historic importance, from a personal perspective, what does this project mean to you?
So I started my career 31 years ago at Milestone, right? Milestone was really the first truly inclusive on every level, multicultural, I'd say omnisexual superhero universe that had a publishing deal with DC Comics. Among many characters that they're known for is Static. Static would go on to have his own cartoon, Static Shock, which would just change 2 generations of lives and inspire people, right? People that you saw working on things like X-Men 97 were directly inspired by Static Shock and seeing that character. So having started my career at Milestone and working my way through Batman and seeing how comics have become more diverse and how independent creators have stopped asking for permission and have created their own companies and created their own houses, there's a circular loop that happens to now for all these creators to come together in a way that is very reminiscent of the impact of the Milestone universe. And I really tell people that Epiphany Engine is basically like the Black Panther of comics. And what I mean by that is, you know, the Black Panther film is Blackness, not even down to the DNA, down to the ribonucleic acid level. It is Black through and through. But the thing is, it was a universal story about civic responsibility that everyone could get, right? And at the core of Epiphany Engine, with all of the Blackness that has come together to create this graphic novel for the Kickstarter campaign, it's a universal story about family and what families have to endure and how do they overcome that and get back together, right? And that's something, I don't care what walk of life you come from. I don't care what culture you come from. That's a story that you can identify with.
Yeah. Are you, I mean, obviously this is impactful, right? It's clear the passion is there. It's very obvious the weight that this holds. And I just want to go back again just about your personal side of this for you. Like, how does this really make you? Give me your emotion. Like, what's the first thing you think of? Are you overjoyed? Are you scared? Are you like, how do you feel about having this come to fruition?
Yeah, no, this is a good question. My overarching emotion is really excitement. I'm excited for people to see this finished book. Every day we're getting new pages, new covers, new scripts. And so that's the overarching emotion. Now, of course, when you're starting something this massive, there are nerves because what you're dealing with is immense responsibility, right? Whosoever takes the biggest risk takes the chance of the biggest fall, right? That's just a fact. That's just a fact of life.
Mm-hmm.
But failure is not an option here, right? So this book is coming out, and when it comes out, it will make a statement about the legacy of publishing and about how we can all work together for one singular effort, which a lot of people consider impossible. They think you get a bunch of people together and you have a lot of clashing of egos and everyone wants to be the boss and things like that. And part of what's exciting about this project is dispelling that myth. And by dispelling that myth, presenting an example that others can follow. Right? And listen, I mean, being in this industry 31 years, seeing the ups and downs, seeing the people that we've lost along the way, I wish Dwayne McDuffie was here so he could see this. I wish Robert Washington, who was one of the founding writers of Static, could be here to see this. There are people that we've lost along the way, and what we have to do is continue in their example. And the thing is, when something like this happens, the moment chooses you. I didn't know that this was going to be as big as it was. It started with a Facebook post by Advent Comics publisher Tony Cottrell that he did in August of last year, which was basically a call to action for creators to create a collective effort. And so many creators said, raise their hands. And they're like, hey, reporting for duty, sign me up. I'm in, tell me more. Let's effing go. And so from there, he began the plan. And he came to me in October and asked me to come on board as editor. And it was a situation which, quite honestly, this thing called free time, this myth that people talk about, I'm so happy for you. I don't have it. I don't have free time. I had to schedule in a call with my mom today to help her with some paperwork. Like, my Google Calendar is just this whole patchwork of oranges and purples, right? But something like this, I could not say no to. I had to carve out the time for it because it behooves us elders, and that's what I am now. I am an elder statesman, as Dwayne McDuffie was when I walked into Milestone as this wet behind the ears intern. It behooves us to put the hand out and pull the next generation forward so this book can be a beacon on them and on their characters and on their efforts. And what it's supposed to do is, when you're done reading it, you are going to explore these other characters and these other publishers and these other creators, and you are going to get access to the entire tapestry of Black publishers of comic books.
Wow.
So, quite frankly, I can't imagine a world in which I wouldn't be involved in this. And I'm honored that I am. And so, I made it clear to certain people, like, listen, we're not announcing any of my other projects for the 30 days of this campaign. It's Epiphany Engine all the time until we're done. And that's it. So I'm committed to the end.
And I mean, honestly, knowing you, Joe, and knowing the work you put in this industry and, just in general with Blackness and with independent creators and with everyone out there, I can't imagine a world existing where, if I'd heard about this project and you weren't involved, I'm like,
what the hell's wrong?
Yeah, what's
going on?
I don't know. I don't know why y'all doing this, honestly.
Listen, I appreciate that. I'm honored to be a part of it. And in some dark, corner of the multiverse where I'm not, I would put my money in it regardless because of what it represents. And, I want to give a shout out to my other partners in this. I mentioned Tony Cottrell, publisher of Advent Comics, who's the leader of the project. Marcus Roberts, who's part of our team, is the co-publisher of Second Sight Publishing and they did the Shook horror anthology graphic novels, which are being published by Dark Horse. Brian Hawkins is a member of our team, really prolific writer, editor. He's done a number of series, but I think one of the most popular ones is called The Vineyard. So he really plays in the horror space, you know. And also, there's just been people throughout the community who have shown us love. Gail Simone, friend of ForAllNerds and just general all-around great guy, Kieran Gillen. Greg Rucka, me and him go way back to the Detective Comics days. Jimmy Palmiotti, who's one of the Kickstarter masters. Kat Kalamia, Charlie Stickney. I mean, we've had people from around the community, you know, generate the wind that is lifting our sails. And that also speaks to the fact that so many people recognize that this is a pebble in the pond moment in comics at a time when we feel like, oh, we've seen everything, or I'm tired of that same old thing, or at a time when you have a revolutionary era like Krakoa and it ends, and you wonder, what's the next thing that can really get me supercharged? And when we announced this, and when people saw that initial image by Criss Cross and Will Quintana with all those characters, bingo. That became the visual iconic symbol of the energy and the excitement and the teamwork behind this.
All right. So I have a question, right? Because you, at the beginning, you said this is the greatest Black crossover, which obviously I can't think of anything other than, like, say, a milestone crossover that would even compare, because this is pretty historic and first of its kind, as far as I know. So in comparison to other great crossovers in comics, what would you say this story is reminiscent of?
That's fair. And just to mention the two that preceded it, there was one called War of the Independents that came out in 2008.
Okay.
And I think after that, there was one called The Union. So those two are smaller scale endeavors in Black independent publishing. This is the higher scale. If I'm going to compare it to the ones that we know, I would compare it to Crisis on Infinite Earths. I would compare it to Secret Wars. Right?
The original Secret
because
Wars.
100%, which is the Secret Wars. Even the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars
is still,
is not the very first one by Jim Shooter and Mike Zeck. And the reason was because those dudes did it first.
Yeah.
Anyone who comes after and does a spinoff, well, they did it first. Yes. Yeah. So the only way you can expand on the legacy is go bigger, right? Go bigger. And so I would compare it to those, because what Crisis on Infinite Earths did for the DC universe after, and the fact that Crisis is still the white whale that DC is chasing almost 40 years later, there is an element to the Epiphany Engine above and beyond the collection of all these superheroes, is that whatever events follow like this, it's kind of like a mic drop. Like, can you go bigger than this, right? It's just like when Ronald D. Moore did Battlestar Galactica, and then he heard that the creator of Mr. Robot was going to redo Battlestar Galactica, and his public statement was, good luck. Because I know what I did. I know what my team did. Okay, I want to see you top that. So this is going to be a mic drop and a challenge to future generations, and we'd like to see what they do.
That's
this
fair.
Is high scale. Yeah, that's it.
I didn't want to get off topic. I mean, I can't believe that dude, but Mr. Robot dude always be making mistakes after Mr. Robot. Oh well. Yeah. So all right, no, I really like that, because those are obviously two of the most iconic, crossovers of all time. And it also lets people know what they're getting here, a world where, and that leads into my next question. If someone's like a fan of Tuskegee, the Tuskegee joint, or any of these various joints in here, what will, like, so how do I phrase this? How would they feel about this crossover? Let's say that. Like, would they will the characters, they know the storylines that are going on in these comics as they're going, will they be impacted by this crossover? Does someone have to read this crossover if they're reading a series that's independent of it?
Right. This story is contained.
Okay.
However, what's going to happen is when you see some of these characters later, they will have been impacted by this in their separate, publishing company.
So like the first Secret Wars, when Spider-Man comes back with a black costume suddenly, and you're like, yo, where do you get this from? We'll
That's right.
You have to go read that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, you could have read Secret Wars 1 to 12, right? But as you said, if you followed when Spider-Man came back with the black suit, when the Fantastic Four came back, but it's not Ben Grimm, it's She-Hulk, you know what I'm saying? Then you're like, oh, okay, I see that this had an effect.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you that some of the new characters and ideas that come out of this is the first time you'll see them, but it will not be the last.
And that, I was already intrigued by this idea because now that you're having this huge crossover and some of these characters are bound to meet in it, in the future, these independent creators can always call one another up and be like, hey, let's do something with those two characters who already met and have them return in our respective series. So
yes, they can.
Yeah, this is really setting up a multiverse, and you have all these independent creators doing it, so they're free to use their characters as they will, which really opens up a lot of possibilities. That's really dope. So I'm about to back this as soon as we get off of this. So.
Yeah, listen, thank you, because, again, not only is this a fictional multiverse, this is a business multiverse. This is a business multiverse of 45 different publishers. Nothing like this has happened in the history of comics. The best you get in general are 2.
Yeah.
And look at what it takes for Marvel and DC to get together. The best you get are 2. We're talking 45. So this is also about entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And what this says about the power and unity of Black entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general. You have so many creators out there that are making the sacrifices to get the work out there. And this is a tribute and testament to them.
Yeah, I do feel like I'm hanging on to everything that you're saying, Joe, because this is igniting not just excitement, but feeling like I'm being fulfilled. Like even just you talking about it, like that, and maybe 10 minutes ago, that elevator pitch you had, like that took me in. I was like, I'm there. The fact that you're creating something that matters, and yes, the idea of Blackness being centered on there, the idea of heroic Blackness and characters and all the different stories that come into it, like that that's a big deal to me, period. And I do understand that that's a big deal when you're talking about just a greater audience. And then the people who don't even realize that something like this is even possible. Like, I think that it's the ideas, and that's what the multiverse represents, right? The possibilities of ideas, the strength of going in and being able, having the ability to go in any direction with this. And I think that's what makes this even the most intriguing, that the possibilities are there. You can, like the idea is that phrase of you can is just more powerful, the most powerful thing that I've heard. So I really like that.
Yeah, thank you, because we get enough of the you can't.
Correct.
We get enough of the, well, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Until you prove it possible. We get enough of the naysayers until evidence comes to light. And, you talk about impact, Tatiana, and another way this is going to have impact is, when you have a bunch of comic books, those comic books can end up in boxes and be ignored. But when you have something with a spine, when you have a book, that goes on a bookshelf, right? And
I know that feeling.
That sits here. That sits on shelves. That's on your coffee table. These are conversation pieces. These are tomes. These are tomes with endurance, right? And so 30 years later, The same way, if you look behind me, you're seeing these milestone compendiums, right, of stories that were crafted from 1993 to 1997, memorialized in these beautiful volumes.
Damn, are those out of print?
No, these, I think these are still all in print. The third one is the latest.
I
but
need those.
That's what 30 years from now, you know, God willing, I live that long. That's what I would like to see on people's bookshelves. Epiphany Engine is on your bookshelf. It was this mark in history, and it's memorialized in a beautiful package. We're not memorializing this in flimsy packaging, right? This is something which is meant to endure, and something that you should be able to pull off your bookshelf again and again whenever someone says you can't, or someone says that's impossible. Right? That's what a lot of these books are, right? That's what they are. It's like there's always someone who's like, you'll never finish that. And then you do. Right?
Now what?
Or you don't exactly. Or, you know, you don't have what it takes. And then you do. Right? So, you know, the campaign is running until July 19th, and the books will be in all the funders' hands on January 2025, which will be a perfect entry into Black History Month, because next year you're going to see the book everywhere.
That's going to be
going to see the book on various creators' tables. You're going to see the book in comic shops. You're going to see the books in people's hands. You're going to see the book everywhere. So now what you're seeing, exactly. So now what you're seeing is the process unfold with covers, with interior pages, with graphics. But when it's physical, that's going to be a whole other something.
Can you share the Kickstarter again? Just how people can search for it and find it?
Yes. Really, the easiest way is if you go to Kickstarter and you just type in the word Epiphany, EPIPHANY. Epiphany Engine is the first one that's going to come up.
Nice.
Right? And so that will take you right there. If you follow any of my social media profiles, you're likely not seeing anything else but this. Right?
Yeah.
So this is a full team effort, and all the creators are out there with the hyperlink. But typing in Epiphany into the search field on the front page of Kickstarter is going to lead you to our campaign first.
Yeah. And I can confirm, when you go to Kickstarter.com, if you type in Epiphany Engine, that's the first option that pops up. And then to your point, you guys you're almost 40% funded at this point. I think you guys need a stretch goal. I think you need to boost this shit to 100K. To be very honest with you.
Well, we are going to be revealing some stretch goals.
Okay.
And we have a thing called Drop Friday, where every Friday we drop a new thing that's going to be part of the campaign. So this Friday, it's going to be a cover by, again, one of the best artists in comics. And you're going to see it and you're going to be like, okay, I want that. Second, where's the t-shirt? Right? It's going to be like that. So every Drop Friday, we drop something new, but we're about to roll out some stretch goals. There are some creators that are involved that have not been announced. And when you see they've come aboard the Epiphany Engine, it's like, all right, this is done. We're talking about high power legends who are coming to this because they know, right? They know
what's up. I love that every tier for the Kickstarter it's hip hop based. So like I see a tier that's titled Mob Deep. There's another tier called Protect Your Neck.
Listen,
try one. This is perfect.
You know,
this is right up our alley.
We have to pay homage to the greats. These are the people that I'm listening to while I'm working. So, and that was really the brainchild of Tony Cottrell. It was his idea to do that. And I'm like, listen, that's where I live. You know, someone was asking me the other day because I posted a Friday morning selfie, and they were like, "What are you listening to?" I said, "70s R&B and 90s hip hop." That's what kicks off my morning.
Hey,
and that's it. So yeah, so we got to give respect to those dudes. They're the soundtrack of our lives.
Yo, I'm supporting right now as we speak. I'm clicking the buttons.
Thank you very much. Yes.
All right. All right, Joe, before we do get you out of here, though, you've survived the interview segment, but we do have our infamous Brat segment.
Let's go.
It's been a minute, since we've done one of these and since you've been here, so let's see how your feelings are these days.
All right, let's see what we got.
All right, the Falcon or War Machine?
Falcon.
All right.
Magneto or Professor X?
What? Magneto.
X-Men 97 version. Still Magneto?
Oh, Magneto.
What?
Oh, that's going to change. He was like, nah, it's still Magneto.
What? Come on. He's been right.
There it is.
Eric Magnus Lenscher has been right for a long time.
All right. It's a writer, The Wire or Breaking Bad?
What? The Wire.
Yeah.
What? Please. No. Breaking Bad didn't become a stellar show until season 3. Wire was stellar from jump. And people who know that the best seasons are seasons 2 with the docs and seasons 4 with the kids.
I mean, all right. Now, the funny thing is most people will debate you about 2
I hate
all
season
day.
2.
It's the greatest season of all time.
In the beginning, anyway. I hated it in the beginning.
You need it. You can't pull it out of the equation and the show works. The show falls. Because listen, the Greek.
Yes.
The Greek.
I'm not even really Greek.
Exactly. And you can't have the overthrow of Avon and Stringer and
without that,
the ruthless era of Marlo Stanfield, who gives no Fs. You can't have that without the Greek.
Even more than that, to me, because it's why I fell in love with the show, because I started on season 2, and it's because I'd never seen them show the drugs come in and show how white people are involved with that. And that's where
they're the main ones.
That's where The Wire changed everything for me. And I also think, what's it, Ziggy? He's just one of the greatest characters in, television to me. I'm fucked, is what you are. That's one of the greatest last lines of a character.
Come on. Come on, man. Don't turn this into an episode about The Wire, because you will not get me out of here. But I tell you what, the thing about The Wire is when that last episode came to pass, you were like, I want to see what happens tomorrow to these characters.
Yep.
If we can pull that off with Epiphany Engine, I'll be proud that you close a book and you're like, I want to see what happens to them tomorrow.
All right. Superman or Batman?
Oh, please, Batman. And I love Cal, but why'd you even ask me that?
I know, it was easy for you.
I got love for Cal, but come on now.
No, I think I'd still say Superman.
Y'all ain't giving me no hard ones, and I don't know why.
All right, Lex Luthor or Dr. Doom?
What? Victor Von Doom. The man went to hell to get his mother's soul back. Nothing Lex does will compare to that.
When you put it like that.
Yeah. I mean, all hope lies in Doom.
Dog.
Come on, man.
When you put it like that.
Lex ain't even got no iconic phrase like that.
Please.
Yeah.
Lex doesn't have a nation that he rules. Latveria. Come on.
That's facts. All right. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek. And that's a tricky one, because you will not find a biggest fan of Andor than myself. But when you look at the entire thing, both of those franchises, the entirety of them, Trek has more layers. There's no Star Trek show, and not even Andor does this, that beats Star Trek Deep Space Nine. There is no Star Wars show that beats it. Okay, so
gonna have to let Andor finish his run.
Exactly. What?
Andor did things I've never seen anything else do on television. I don't know. I haven't seen every episode of Deep Space Nine, but I don't know if they did some of those things. I don't know.
That's your crucial life error, and you need to rectify this. You need to watch the entirety of Deep Space Nine, dude, because basically they showed what war is really like out there. right? Not this sanitized thing that you've seen from like the 60s.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is what it does to you. This is what it does to you over a period of time, to your body, to your psyche, like real.
You still telling me Andor right here.
Listen, I'm just saying.
You still talking about?
Listen.
My man said,
maybe
I have no ground left to stand on.
Maybe Deep Space Nine walked so Andor could run.
There we go, because Andor's running.
But you can't run without your daddy.
I know.
Teach you to walk first.
Eventually, the student comes back and whoops on that master too.
To be seen. To be seen.
Because my man said, I have no ground left to stand on.
Listen, but if we're talking entire franchises, it's Trek.
Yeah,
it's
I
Trek.
get you.
That's it.
Look, I'll hold on.
That was
Andor.
the toughest one. That was the toughest one for real.
Like
for
it's
real.
the sun out there, boy.
Dude, listen. You know, like that's one of my YouTube addictions. I'll be like, I need some inspiration because I gotta write something, and I'll be like, okay, let me just watch one of those. Let me just watch one of the monologues. I was watching the Marva monologue yesterday.
Oh,
I'm in the kitchen cooking lunch. It almost brought me to tears.
Bruh.
Because when Homegirl says, if I was still alive, I would get up early every morning to fight these bastards. You don't feel that to the pit of your soul?
Bruh, someone posted the picture. They said, post a picture from a show that if you don't understand it, it'll make it, you won't get it. But if you see this picture, it'll fuck you up. And they posted the picture of them of the prisoners arriving at the edge. I don't want to tell Tatiana, I don't want to spoil, but you already know. They posted the pictures, and I'm about to fall out crying, bro, from that image. I'm about to start bawling right now talking about it.
Yes.
One way out, goddamn it.
Exactly. And this is what stories are supposed to do. They're not supposed to be forgettable. They're supposed to leave an impression. So that's what we all got to aspire for, to leave the impression.
All right. Storm or Misty Night?
Oh, damn. Okay, now I hate you. It's Misty Night. I've been Misty ride or die since I was a teenager. And listen, if we're gonna keep it really real, Storm has finally reached the goddess status that she has long deserved. The full potential of Misty Night has not been realized yet. Now, I am willing to make myself available to Marvel Comics to do that.
Okay.
I will realize the full potential of Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, the Daughters of the Dragon. Because right now, Marvel's been playing reindeer games with those two characters.
I love me some Colleen too.
But I'm ride or die Misty Knight, bro.
Yeah.
I love it. This actually comes from a listener, F7 Patches, longtime follower, longtime supporter. Would you rather see your life turn into an album, a graphic novel, a game, or a movie?
Wow, that's a tough one, man.
That is.
Whoa. And I think that's partially connected to ego. I'm going to say graphic novel because I'm a child of comics. Like, if that's where I started, if my story ended that way, like, man, that's a life. That's the human adventure, right? That's a human adventure. If the story of my life could be memorialized in comics, so some black kid can pick it up and be like, damn, that's what it was like to be a black kid in the 70s who liked comic books. That's what it was like to be a black teenager in the 80s who liked comic books. Because as a black kid, you were an outcast, and as a black teenager, you were a social pariah. Right? Everyone knows the name Thanos now, but when I was a kid and a teenager, I had to hide my comics in my math book, taking the 4 train home to Utica Avenue, right? So when I see people complaining about MCU stuff, I'm like, you living in a golden age. You got a Black Panther film that literally shook the foundations of global culture. What are you complaining about? Please tell me.
You have 2 of them.
Were you living in a creative renaissance? So for me, it would have to be a graphic novel, right? I would say that way. Yeah.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
All right. who is your first geek crush?
Oh boy. Does this go across any medium?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm gonna have to say Linda Carter is Wonder Woman. And I'm gonna have to say that even at a young age, I realized that there was something just like extraordinary about her. Come to find out, she's of Mexican and Cuban descent.
There you go.
Wonder Woman was Latina. Yeah. So she just had this special exotic nature. And you know what else? She was so humane. Like, the thing I admire about Wonder Woman the most, and if I ever get to write Wonder Woman, this is what I would say. Most human beings, most creatures, most bipeds, what they say and what they do are entirely two different things.
Every day.
Wonder Woman is a creature of truth. She says as she is. That's why if you're a writer, you don't need internal narrative captions for Wonder Woman because there's no second level. It's as I say is as I am. Now, of course, Tom King gets an exception in his present Wonder Woman series with Daniel Samperi as genius. But Wonder Woman doesn't need any internal narrative captions. Batman does. Because with Batman, there's always an angle.
Right.
There's 4 angles.
Right.
Right. While he's talking to you, his brain is constantly on 360 alert. But Wonder Woman is a creature of truth.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to hit you with the last one. If you could have any one superpower, what would it be?
Wow. So this question is always a tough one. And I guess where I am in life determines the answer, but I would have to say flight. Right? I think
humans always want to fly.
I think if I was having a bad day and I could go up there and look up from 30,000 feet and see how amazing this planet is, or go 60,000. Well, I don't know if I'd still be able to breathe with how the air is, but I think it would just give me perspective. You know, I think it would be an amazing thing. Like, I don't need to be super strong. I don't need to be invisible or read minds, but I think flight is pretty profound. And Harriet Tubman dreamed that she could fly, you know? So I think that says something.
Yeah. And for all intents and purposes, you could, right?
Yeah. Listen,
you really think about it.
Listen, one of the great liberators of the human race. Facts. One of the great liberators of the human race.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, Joe.
All right, Joe. As always, man, thank you for joining us here on the For All Nerds show. For those of us who know our history, like I said, you are one of the long-term, from the very beginning, shout to Chris Morrow and D. Chico Leo for introducing me to you way back in the day. And please let the fam out there know where they can find you at.
All right. Well, Ben, Tatiana, as always, my gratitude for getting the invitation to come back. Always have fun with y'all. So you can find me, Joe Illidge on Facebook, Joseph P. Illidge on Twitter, Joseph P. Illidge on Blue Sky, IllMasterOne on Instagram, Joseph Philip Illidge on LinkedIn. I have a TikTok. I need to activate it. And that's it. And when I'm not on those, I'm doing the work.
Yes. And let the people know once again about Epiphany Engine, where they could go to support, find it, the dates, all that stuff.
You got it. Epiphany Engine, Ultimate Comics Crossover, 192-page graphic novel, now being campaigned on Kickstarter. You go to Kickstarter, you type in Epiphany Engine, and you will see the campaign. It is running until July 19th. Do not walk, run, learn about this. See amazing creators that you have grown up with, that you respect. Learn about new creators. This is the ultimate jam in comics. You're going to want to be there. Thank you in advance for your support.
Word. And like we said, thank you for joining us, Joe. Thank you to all the fam as always. We will be back with much more on a future episode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Joe.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up, internets and the fam? This is Tatiana King for For Nerds, and I want to thank you so much for listening and watching the For All Nerds. Make sure you like and subscribe to us only on YouTube.